Welcome one and welcome all, and welcome to the Lady T's Let's Talk podcast. Welcome, welcome all. I just like welcoming my listeners to my platform, and I'm so pleased that you like my segments, and I'm really getting some interesting feedback from my listeners, and I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I'm just so ecstatic and just so thrilled. I just can't tell you how happy I am to be able to come each and every time, and I try to give you guys my best and try to put out good content. And the positive feedback that I've been getting, I really appreciate it, and I thank you guys. And I just want to just give you my best and give you a good content. So thank you for that. And many of you guys who have listened to my segments know that I try my best to keep my listeners informed on topics which I feel, is important, and it has some substance to it. And I want to keep up with my topics. And I feel that if I give good content and I'm giving you things that may help someone, especially in our community, I know that I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be doing. Put it that way. So on this segment, I have a special one for you, and I would like to present it to you guys. Sara Baartman. I want to honor this segment to her. In honor of her, I want to dedicate this segment to her. And I know many of you guys saying to yourself, who is Sara Baartman? Well, I'll be more than honored to expand on her and let you guys know exactly who she was and how I feel that her existence is so important to everything that's happening now into our society and our community and to our people. So, Sara Baartman. Who was Sara Baartman? She was born in 1789 of African descent. She was the first Black woman known to be subjugated to human sex trafficking. Her body was used publicly, and it was examined and exposed inhumanly throughout the duration of her young life. Her name was, the name which was given to her was the Hottentot Venus. So this name, Hottentot Venus, was not her name. Her name was Sara Baartman. But when they put her up on display and used her as a guinea pig for their own twisted entertainment, this is the name which was given to her. She was born a member of the Khoikhoi tribe. The Khoikhoi tribe, Khoikhoi, that was the name they went by, and it was used to show pride within their culture. Both of her parents passed on at a young age. I believe her mother passed away when she was very young, and later on she was raised by her father, and later on her father was killed. Then later on, when she was, I believe, 15 or 16 or so, she married, and then her husband was later on murdered. And as far as I know, she was subjugated into sex trafficking hereafter her husband was murdered. I don't know how long after the husband was murdered that she was forced into this, but somehow within that time frame, yeah, she was. Now, I'm bringing the message as I've received it. You know, some of it may not at all be set in stone, you know, as we may think, but yet and still, it's the message. So I want to bring you guys the message about our sister, Sara Baartman. Sex trafficking victims today are still out there. Many of them were able to be saved, but then there's so many more that are still out there who are still victims of sex trafficking. And I think even though you overcome something horrendous such as that, I think you're still a victim to a certain point, because that has to be something that I couldn't imagine. I mean, from what I know about it and researched about sex trafficking, it's just something that's just horrible to even endure, for a person to have to even go through, as well as someone young, a child, a teenager, even adults. I mean, it's horrendous. So this is what our sister Sara Baartman went through. Now, that's what makes her story so unique, is that in the way in which she was treated while being in this sex trafficking ring. I don't want to say a ring, because I don't even know if it was a ring. I think it was just, I don't know. I'm just going to say sex trafficking ring, because I'm pretty sure it was more than one person that was involved in this. So I'm just going to say ring. You know, she was a victim of it, you know, and that makes it despicable. First of all, to take her name away from her. That's what they do first. They take your name away, and then they give you this alias to go by. So the alias was the Hottentot Venus. Let that be the total reason. Then they take you off to some remote place, never to be heard or seen from again, which they did to her. They took her from Cape Town to England. You know, and from what I read, they said she was sort of coerced in doing it, or something to that nature. But yeah, she was forced. Yeah, she was forced. She was a victim, and she was forced. Now, this is where it gets sick and twisted to me. There was a man by the name of William Dunlap. This was the man that, quote unquote, coerced her into this sex trafficking. But we know he forced her. You know, somehow he had this sick amazement with her body structure. Now, I'm going to give you a visual little of her body structure, and I'm going to keep it respectable for our sister. Sarah's body wasn't like nothing we have never seen before. If you look at a lot of our full figure sisters, with, you know, plump, round derriere, wide hips, I mean, we all have them. Some of us do, some of us don't. But the majority of sisters, yeah, that's our makeup, some of them, some of us. And this was Sara Baartman. Because at the end of the day, she was of African descent. We are all of African descent. And we're shapely, and we're full-figured. So this is Sara Baartman. So somehow this weirdo, this sicko, was amazed at the way her body was structured. And he used that for sexual they used her body structure and forced her into the sex trafficking and used her as some type of a sideshow freak in a exhibit somewhere where people could come and look at her and gawk at her and watch her. And who knows who else was getting some type of sick cheap thrill from it, but they did. And this is what took place. Now, I'm giving you what I've read and what I've researched, and I'm trying to put it in a way where, you know, you can understand what was going on with our sister then and things of that nature. But I will leave links below so that you guys can go and pull up more information on it. And it's more information. I'm not gonna expand on everything, but there's more. So I would advise you guys to, you know, follow the link and get educated on who Sara Baartman was and why her history is so profound to our history now. You know, when I read up on it and I watched the videos, I became sick to my stomach with disgust. Because the fear she must felt, the mistreatment, and the way in which her body was used as an exhibit for cheap sexual thrills. You know, it sent chills through my body. And God knows whatever else and what other horrible things that they must have done to her. They used her for the purpose of sexual exploitation, humiliation, torment, shame, fear. These are emotions which I'm sure she was subjected to on a regular basis. Her dignity and self-esteem was stripped from her completely. Today we call it body shaming. You know, they put her up to be examined and looked at and gawked inhumanely. And inhumanely means lacking human qualities. So they treated our sister like a caged animal. And I'm gonna be real. Some animals they treat, they put them on a pedestal, but they treated her inhumanly. They devalued her very existence. She was a woman. She was a Black African queen. That's who Sara Baartman was. She was a Black African queen. And they stripped her dignity. How can one do such a thing to another? But they did. Sara didn't have a voice. She didn't have a voice then. She didn't have a voice. Who was going to listen to her screams? You know, where was her life, her family? Where was her lawyers, her attorneys, her health care insurance, her clothes, her shoes? Hell, you know, she really didn't need the clothes and shoes because they moved her around from one exhibit to the next. It wasn't no labor laws. 95% or more, she was naked and stared at for financial gain. She didn't have a voice then. So now, on this day of June 11th, 2021, on my platform, the Lady T's Let's Talk podcast platform, I'm giving a voice to Sara Baartman. I'm speaking up for Sarah and all the women or men who are subjugated to this mistreatment, sex trafficking. This is something which has placed the darkest cloud over the world. Obviously, since the 18th century. And if you really want to know my opinion, hell, all of our ancestors were trafficked sexually and then some. Because writing on that tag was financial gain. No doubt. Slavery was a business, a big, huge business. Because each slave had a price on their head. It was all business. That's why the slave masters were so pissed when the slave ran away, because they were watching their money run away. How profoundly sick. They didn't see the slaves as humans. They were devalued as well. How profoundly sick. So let's honor the life of Sara Baartman and many other women who are victims and who are victims today, who still, till right now, are in the same predicament as Sarah was then. If you see something, speak on it. If you know something, speak on it. Don't turn a blind eye, because that doesn't help the victims and it doesn't help our community and our society. There were no NAACPs and community activists and Al Sharptons, for her during this time. There was none. There were no one. Everyone saw, everyone looked, and they turned away like it was nothing. She was human. She was a Black African queen. But we can help the ones who are still victims of this disgraceful travesty. So in closing, I want to bid all a farewell. Thank you guys so much for listening. And remember our sister, Sara Baartman. Her spirit lives in all of us. Because you can't kill African pride, nor the African spirit. And if you want to know more about Sara Baartman and her life, I'll leave the links below, like I said earlier. And if you like my segments, please remember to subscribe to my channel, like and share it. And until next time, ciao.